The modern world often suppresses, exploits, and challenges women's power. However, through the mastery of energy, influence, and strategy, women can learn to rise above limitations, break oppressive structures, and command their own success. Today's video, I'm going to be giving you the tools for women's power, victory, and success in a patriarchal society. We're going to start with 3 heavy hitters that I highly recommend that you explore and do more research on. Consider this video a jumping off point for that research. And the 3 magical rituals and magical ingredients that I recommend are night honey, the witch's hand, and Lucifer powder. Now these 3 items are a triple threat. This allows women to reclaim their power and dominance in male-dominated spaces, control narratives and reshape power structures, manifest wealth, success, and recognition on their own terms, break through illusions, gaslighting, and systematic oppression, and elevate themselves beyond the limits imposed by societal structures. So let's talk about how each one of these rituals and spell items can improve your success as a female witch. Now, I want to preface this video by saying 2 things. 1, this is a video specifically for women and women only. And that also means women who identify or people who identify as women. So, fellas, I'm so sorry to tell you that these items, well, most of them, will not be beneficial to you as they're not crafted or designed or intended for men. Now, if you're gonna go in the comment section and ask me if there's a substitute for men, I ask that you do not comment. This video is for women and for people who identify as women. I am asking that the men be allies in this time and take a back seat in commenting, allowing the women to ask questions, to comment their opinions, just as people of color would ask non-people of color to take a back seat in discussions centered around their oppression and their personal empowerment. Right now, the voices of women need to be uplifted in this particular video, as all of my videos are non-gender specific. I hope that you would respect the fact that this one video is in fact for us, for the girlies. And so there may not be anything in this video that will be beneficial to you, although I can't stop you from watching it. I ask that you do not comment, not even an emoji, a heart, anything. You can like, you can view the video, but I ask that you remain silent and sit in the background and allow the women to step forward to benefit from the lessons, the teachings, and the guidance of this video. And allow them to speak and share their truth, maybe their own magic, and what they want to see moving forward. Because, again, this video is specifically crafted for them. So I just want to give that disclaimer. I also want to say that this work will not work for you as a man. If you identify as a man, if you were born a man and you still identify as a man, this work will not work for you, right? Because you are benefiting from patriarchal rule. And I guess benefiting is a weird way of saying it because I feel like nobody wins in a patriarchal society, but you may be a person who someone has to do this work against because you may not be aware of your privilege, of your toxic masculine traits, and of the ways that you are continuing to perpetuate patriarchal oppression in your own life, even subconsciously, even unconsciously, okay? So this work is not for you, nor will it benefit you in any way. Maybe one of the things that I list here in this video, but majority of this is for the girls, okay? So I just had to say that before I start because I already know there's gonna be one person that decides to write an emoji, types in heart emoji. I'm deleting your comment and I might even block you if you can't follow basic instructions, because one thing I can't stand is a man who will hear what I'm saying and watch the video and then do whatever it is that he wants to do anyways. That's gonna get you blocked, okay? Let's move on. The first thing on the list is going to be night honey. Now, I actually have recently discovered all of the beautiful benefits of night honey through my own personal, research and just kind of delving deeper into this. But this is a very old school, magical ingredient. And basically it is a enchanted honey that is a combination of a couple of different herbs. People add in ritual oils, and they also add in some type of a tag lock such as hair or menstrual blood. And I have personally found that the success that I've gotten from it is by using bath water that I have soaked in with no soap, no detergents, no Epsom salt, nothing, just the essence of me, a me soup in the bathtub. Okay, that collecting that bath water and adding it in as a tag lock for my personal energy and my essence, that is some of the most potent kind of energy, and it's something that you can always tap into no matter what, no matter if you're on your cycle or not. And of course you can always use your hair or your nails or any of that, but the bath water works really well, and it helps to create more of a viscous liquid when using it for things like candles and other spell ingredients, because as we know, honey is sticky, and the base of this is honey, okay? So let's talk about what night honey is. Night honey is an elixir for magnetism, attraction, and influence. You're gonna see me looking down every once in a while because I have my notes here, and it's a lot of information, and if you think that I'm gonna just come up with that on the dome or be able to just spout it out on the dome, you're crazy, okay? So you may see me looking down every once in a while, but that's just because I have my notes here on the table, okay? Night honey is a gilded enchantment that is meant to make the practitioner, specifically the woman, irresistible, financially abundant, and revered in all spaces. This is a gentle but powerful gesturing of influence that really pushes people to submit and yield to your desires. This is a manifestation tool that blends seduction, success, and energetic domination. There are a few ways that night honey empowers women, specifically in a patriarchal society, and I'm going to share that with you. The first being financial freedom. As we know, being financially free and being financially abundant is a very important part of being able to pull yourself out of patriarchal rule. Because just a few decades ago, women were not allowed to have bank accounts. They weren't allowed to buy homes, buy cars. They couldn't even really work. And they didn't even have the same amount of education and opportunities afforded to them as men. So being financially stable, being financially secure actually does empower you in a patriarchal society. It allows you to be able to circulate yourself with people who really value you and aren't wielding their finances over your head as a way to keep you or trap you in a relationship or in a situation with them. So this is a really great way to bring in financial abundance and financial opportunities to the female practitioner. It ensures money, luxury, and wealth is drawn and magnetized towards you and sticks to you like honey in everything that you do. And it allows it to flow to the practitioner without excessive struggle or labor. The next way that it benefits a woman is by enhancing her feminine magnetism and her charm. Women who use night honey are the quintessential quote, "I don't chase, I attract." That is the energy of night honey. Whether that is in business, leadership, or any social setting, her presence alone commands respect and attention anywhere she goes. It can also change power dynamics. When men assume control in spaces, night honey shifts the power dynamic into your hands. They will begin to listen, invest, and even seek your approval. And lastly, it can elevate your status and your recognition, paving the way for upward mobility and making the practitioner a force that cannot be ignored or overshadowed. Now, the ways that you might use night honey is by anointing yourself on your pulse points, your wrists, your neck, your collarbone, right? The back of your knees. These are places that most people will anoint themselves with spell oils, and it can be used the same way. You can also add this night honey into ritual baths. And there are some people who say that you can rub it on your lips, but depending on the ingredients that you use, which the best recipes that I've found and the one that I've crafted for myself has ingredients that I would not ingest and that aren't advised to ingest. So I wouldn't apply them to my lips where I could potentially eat it. but a small amount of it isn't going to kill you, right? A little bit on your lip isn't going to kill you, but it could upset your stomach, and you just don't want to take that risk, right? Especially if you're going to use it before you go out, right? Someplace. You don't want to feel nauseous or have any other type of reaction. So placing it on the skin is always safe. Ingesting it is a different thing. So you can add it to your ritual bath, like I said. You can drizzle this over a dollar bill and then either sprinkle money herbs or just leave it just the night honey and then fold it up and place that either on your altar or in a mojo bag or a charm bag. Or you can, fold it up really, really good, just anoint it very lightly and then place it in your wallet or your purse as a way to bring in finances and prosperity into your life. You can also drizzle this on contracts and resumes, business tools to solidify success in those dealings. And like I said before, you can add it to your ritual baths. You can add it to beauty products if it's safe and if you've incorporated ingredients that are skin safe. And then the traditional way is to anoint spell candles with this work, which is the most, the easiest way to use night honey, right, is to incorporate it into candle magic and into ritual items that, you're not going to be placing on yourself or anything else. But candles are a really great way of manifesting and a very traditional way that most witches will use in their practice. The really important thing to take away from night honey is that it makes a woman impossible to ignore, easy to follow, and dangerously magnetic. Our second one on the list is going to be the witch's hand ritual. Now, this is a very, very powerful ritual, and I cannot state this enough. If you are going to do this ritual, you need to be prepared for a life change, a radical life change. You are going to be shifting your entire life into a different realm of existence. And so when you're making these types of choices, you have to ask yourself, what am I willing to do to rise to the occasion of the shifts that will happen and occur around me? That means you could be taken and removed out of places. Friendships and relationships could fall by the wayside. This is one of those things where it has this kind of huge, really powerful sweeping effect that people kind of speak about when talking about things like Moldavite, right? It comes in and corrects things that need to be corrected, but it's not as aggressive and not as like tower momenty as Moldavite, but it is very, very intense. And so it will require you to, again, rise to the occasion. And this is a ritual specifically to bless your hands. And so when we're talking about our hands, we're talking about the practice of laying your hands on things, your hands as magical tools, right? And so if you're somebody who is lucky enough to have hands, you have to really recognize the beauty of your hands, the beauty that your hands hold, right? And what they represent magically, spiritually. These are wands, right? And whatever you direct that energy, whatever you touch, right, becomes what you decide it to be. So in this ritual, you are blessing your hands to allow you to put your destiny and your fate into your own hands, to shift the reality that you're currently in by your own hands and your own workings, right? This is a huge thing. And traditionally, this has been used to give women power over men who are either abusing them, taking advantage of them, or oppressing them in some way, right? So this is an old school, folk magic practice that is used in Middle Eastern practices, European folk magic, hoodoo. This is used in a lot of different traditions. So this isn't just one specific type of path, but this is a very powerful practice because you will be praying to your ancestors and the women that came before you. You will be calling on powerful divine energies to help you with this work. So the ritual itself is, again, a consecration of a woman's hands as vessels for magic, power, and control. Anything that she touches becomes enchanted, and the people that she interacts with will be drawn to obey, respect, and follow her lead. So let's talk about the benefits of the witch's hand ritual. First and foremost, this is a ritual that helps you break free from submissive conditioning. Oftentimes in society, women are taught and conditioned to be agreeable, right? And to just go with whatever is being told or asked of them. They're asked to be soft-spoken, to not get out of line, to not be too unkempt. The witch's hand ritual rewires this energy, ensuring that the woman acts, speaks, and moves with the authority of someone whose life is in their own hands and whose destiny and fate is in their own hands. This ritual will also ensnare the minds of others. With this power, it ensures that your interactions with people will be enchanting and persuasive, making it easier for you to influence relationships, conversations, and decision-making processes. It can also be beneficial in ensuring that women win negotiations and contracts. Whether you're in a business deal or corporate setting, or in a messy divorce, maybe you're in a political field or in the creative industry, this can be a great ritual for you to incorporate into your witchy arsenal as a way to help you gain the upper hand, quite literally, in those types of dealings, making sure that the final decision leans in your favor. It can also turn your hand gestures into silent commands. Now, if you are somebody who has purchased my Glamour Magic Academy, I talk about the power of mudras and using your hands strategically for magic. This actually, again, turns your hands into magical tools. And so this is very important for you to remember so that you can, one, start studying the purpose and the uses of hand movements and gestures in magic, which again, I go through in my Glamour Magic Academy, and or being able to use your hands more intentionally when you speak. Maybe you point at something, maybe you tap something 3 times with your index finger, understanding what each individual finger means, placing rings specifically and strategically on specific fingers on your hands, bracelets, all different types of things, right? How you take care of it. This turns your hand into a truly magical tool. So learning how to craft even your own personal mudras or symbols to create these commands can be a truly powerful force to be reckoned with. A simple touch, a handshake, writing your own name will carry immense power and authority. Now, if you want to maximize this power, you'll take a little bit of that night honey that we talked about before and include it in the crafting of this. Now, typically in a witch's hand ritual, it is a combination of herbs, and oils, as well as clay, or sometimes people use salt or dirt if they have like specific type of dirt or whatever the case may be from the earth, and a blend of these things with some oils. And they will also, I've seen people also burn like crow's feather and other types of ingredients. They'll bring in, you know, animals that are representative of the energy or the power that they want to incorporate. I've seen a lot of different ways to do this, and of course when you go to do your research, you'll research what is appropriate for your specific culture or your needs or whatever the case may be. But typically there is some type of a clay or salt or something that is the mix that you're creating, and then you're rubbing it onto your hands. It's not usually just oils or whatever. There is a clay element, and I personally think that red clay is the best thing to use for this particular type of ritual, because once you've created your mix, right, with all of your ingredients in it, and you've said your prayers and your incantations, you will dip your hands in it, really rub your hands in that ingredient, cover them all the way down to just below your wrists, right? And you will pray with your hands. You'll begin to sit and pray. And when you know it is time to stop your prayers, stop your rituals, stop your chanting, right? You'll obviously maybe have a candle lit and some incense going, and you'll do the whole song and dance. But what you will know, when you'll know that it's done, is when the clay has dried on your hands, when it is completely dried. Now, if you want to hold your hands out to receive, if you want to put it in a prayer pose, you can do that too. Again, the gestures are different. If I was somebody who was doing this ritual to free myself from an abuser, specifically my partner or a man that I was living with who was physically abusing me, which is why a lot of women did this practice back in the day, is to free themselves from men that were physically harming them. I would be in a prayer position because I'd be calling to my ancestors. If I was looking for more power in whatever it is I'm doing, my hands would be open to receive, right? But it doesn't actually matter because you need to intuitively tap into what it is that you feel. But as long as your hands are anointed and with that mixture that you've created, it is going to be a truly powerful ritual. And again, like I said, the clay is so powerful. Clay has its own magical intentions and its own magical energy, but the clay is so powerful because one, it actually soaks in the nutrients, soak into the skin, right? Which is what, you know, clay does, the red clay, and it kind of stains your hands for a little while. So that energy stays with you and you can actually physically see the stain of that working on your hands linger over time. And I like that as a way to continue to connect to the magic and recognize that these hands are stained with the magic of this ritual. Now, when you go to perform any ritual that requires your hands, right? Crafting spells, writing sigils, writing your name, writing business contracts, writing music. Maybe you are, you know, writing a letter to somebody telling them that I'm done with you, like we're breaking up, I'm getting a divorce, I don't know, right? Maybe you're writing to your boss or whatever the case may be. You're typing to your boss. Anything that requires you to use your hands is now going to be enchanted and empowered and blessed with that ritual and the magic of that ritual. So when you're sitting at that altar and you are praying with your hands open or your hands together in prayer position, you make sure you are calling to every woman in your ancestral lineage, every woman that traces back to the beginning of time that is connected to you, and you call upon the strength that was divinely given to every single one of us upon birth. And that no man on this planet, no patriarchal system, no government, no rule or reign of any man on this planet could ever take away from us. Think of this ritual as you calling to Hecate, Lilith. Think of the first woman, right? I'm not talking about Eve. I'm talking about women who took their sovereignty and their power into their own hand. That is what this ritual is about. And that is the energy you need to bring into that spell. That is the energy that this ritual requires. And it is why it is so powerful. And it requires you to be very intentional and very clear about what it is that you want, and about the change that will be asked of you at a soul level to meet and rise to the occasion. And so when you're ready for that, and when you're ready to take those steps, that is a ritual that will change your life. And so I'm saying this because every witch should know how to do the ritual at least, and have some type of a thing written out. And if you decide to do this ritual, it should be something that is in your spell book, your book of shadows, your grimoire, to reach forward in a time where things start to maybe get a little crazy, especially the way that things are right now, and it's starting to feel more and more like Handmaid's Tale, okay? All right, well, moving on to our last ingredient, and that is going to be Lucifer Powder. Now, I've talked about Lucifer Powder many times here on my channel, and a couple of people have asked me, can you do a video on how to make Lucifer Powder? And I am going to do a video on that. I probably will do that video next here on YouTube. I'm not going to, you know, make it hard for you guys to find. It's a pretty simple recipe, and everybody has different versions of this across cultural practices. Some of them don't call it Lucifer Powder, but I will show you what I would do and the ingredients that I use, and I will also show you a few variations of prayers and incantations that are said over these ingredients. Now, I want to remind you that this is an ingredient that you would add to another spell working, right? So a powder in magic can be used in mojo bags. It can be sprinkled over candles. It can be sprinkled as a tracking, a foot tracking, right? If you know that the person that you're trying to target with this powder is going to be walking in a certain area, you might, you know, trail it across their, you know, front of their car, in front of their car door, or front of their house, under their doormat, whatever the case may be, that is what the function of this is for. So you want to make sure that you're understanding that when you're making a Lucifer powder, that there is another step that is going to be included in working with it, right? So you're not just going to make the powder and let it sit there. You're going to incorporate it into other types of magical rituals, but you should at least have a jar or a baggie of your own personal bag of Lucifer powder. And Lucifer powder is the alchemy of breaking down pride, ego, arrogance. It can be great for people who are narcissistic, really people that are hard to do magic on, right? Because they're so, headstrong of their own opinions, and believe that they deserve to do whatever. And this is why it's good for women in specific spaces where men are asserting their dominance, thinking that they deserve to just run and rule everybody just because they're a man. Lucifer powder can actually humble them and put them in a place where they will, one, either have to make a change and readjust themselves to the energy that you're bringing into a space, or the energy of the space to include not just themselves as a leader, but all people in the space, including women, as equal partners in the work. Or it will humble them to the point of them not being able to work their control or domination in the space against you specifically. It's also really great for commanding justice and exposing lies. If somebody has gone on a smear campaign against you, and this could be used for men and women, it doesn't just have to be men, but we're talking about patriarchal stuff and men, so of course I'm going to be talking about that, but you can use this for anybody, right? And even the other works that I'm doing, they also affect women too, and non-binary people, and every person, right? But we're talking about this in terms of using these types of practices to, empower you during revolutionary times. But this type of powder can be great for exposing people who are lying on you, right? If you need people to start telling the truth, or you need their lies to be exposed, you can almost set this up to be like the trap, right? That ensnares them in their own lies, exposing them, unraveling them. And in some cases, they will actually expose themselves. They will do the work for you and tell the truth and snitch on themselves, which is honestly my favorite thing ever, is when people just tell on themselves. You're like, oh, that was you. It's also really great for commanding justice. So if there's a situation, again, similar to the exposing lies, but if there's a situation where justice is needed in some aspect, the Lucifer powder can make it so those who are maybe leaning towards giving someone a specific outcome off of favoritism or this and that, they will actually come to a fair judgment and bring justice to the situation, right? So it humbles the arrogant, it exposes deceit, and it forces recognition of a woman's power in spaces that are heavily dominated by male control. So again, like I said, this is great for forcing arrogant men and gatekeepers to not only give you an opportunity, but to stop whatever they're doing that is oppressing you. And it will allow them to actually recognize you as somebody who is valid in a space. So if you're dealing with people who are belittling you or ignoring your work or challenging your authority, this is a really great power for you. This will make them see you as valuable. It also exposes hidden agendas and lies. A function of the patriarchal system often thrives on deception and illusions. And the Lucifer powder itself ensures that no one can hide their true intentions from you. It also weakens the control of people who hoard power. And so that could be, again, male, female, but anybody who is overly drunk on power and using it as a way to mistreat you or the people around you, especially those who are manipulative figures who are using their power dynamics and their social status as a way to get away with certain things. This could be a really, really great way to put an end to that. And it also breaks resistance and opens up opportunities. If somebody has been blocking promotions, opportunities, positive energy from coming to you by way of being a gatekeeper or by way of just standing in the way because they have the power to do that, This can break that energy down and blast the doors open, allowing what is rightfully yours to come to you without their influence and their energy playing a role in any of it, right? And so this is why this type of a powder and an ingredient is super beneficial to have in your witchy arsenal, in your witchy cabinet, to be able to reach for in moments where this type of work is you know, showing up in your reality and you need to address it. Now, again, like I said, this is an ingredient, so you will sprinkle this on a petition paper or on a candle. You may also sprinkle it again in on a space where the target of your magic will walk. If you are going to sprinkle it someplace where you know other people are also going to be walking, what you want to do is you want to write their name down 9 times on a piece of paper and then tear up those pieces of paper so that there's 9 pieces of paper with their name on it, right? Small little pieces of paper. Burn each one of them and incorporate those ashes into the blend so that the work, and you know, obviously you're going to speak to the work, you're not just going to do that, but you're going to speak to the work and say, this Lucifer powder specifically, or you know, you sprinkle a little bit of that Lucifer powder and blend it with those ashes, is specifically targeting this person, and you want to make sure to incorporate that. And then when you sprinkle it someplace that is someplace where other people would also be walking, it won't impact them, it'll only impact the target of your magic. You can also blow this over documents and contracts, business cards. Blow this at the front door of an establishment, in their office, you know, over their car. You can do that. And then obviously you can add it to mojo bags, or you can, well, mojo bags is a little bit different. Like if you're, I wouldn't add this to a mojo bag, but if you're doing a spell, like a head working spell, I would carve a hole into the skull candle and put some of the Lucifer powder in there, especially for people who are narcissistic and who are a little bit harder to be susceptible to magic, who are self-absorbed and very arrogant and very hard to humble. Yeah, this would be something that I would use in a head working. You can use it in like a cotton spell, or if you have a poppet or a doll baby that you want to use, you could add it into the doll baby. Same thing, you can load it into figure candles for that person. You can sprinkle it over like mirror boxes and stuff like that. If you're going to be doing like a mirror box spell, all of those things can be included. But again, this is an ingredient that you're going to be adding to something else. It's not a standalone ingredient and not a standalone thing. Just like the night honey is something that you're going to then continue to use in your practice, anointing yourself, candles, and the witch's hand ritual is a ritual, right? You do it once. Hopefully you only need to ever do it one time, because if you need to do it again, it probably means that either it means that you're extending to a higher level and you have to do it again because you're, you know, new levels, new devils, right? So don't feel bad if you have to do it again, right? But that's more of a ritual, and it's kind of a set it and forget it, right? Like you do the ritual and you move on with your life. The night honey and the Lucifer powder are things that you can continue to reincorporate into your practice for years to come. Using all 3 of these can be the perfect trifecta and really bring about a positive result that you weren't originally expecting. The night honey attracts resources, success, recognition, amplifies your beauty, your seduction, your ability to charm and command people effortlessly. The witch's hand ritual consecrates your hands, making them magical tools that will allow you to have power and control over interactions, contracts, dealings, and puts you in the power seat to shape your own reality. And the Lucifer powder helps you to remove resistance, specifically removing patriarchal oppression or the influence of those who are arrogant and drunk on power, and allow you to be able to balance those dynamics out so that you are heard, recognized, and appreciated in spaces. A woman who uses these 3 items is a woman who creates a force field that men cannot ignore, dismiss, or suppress. A force field that allows opportunities to flow to her easily and effortlessly. She is recognized as an authority and not just a participant, and barriers collapse before her will. So I hope that this is inspiring you to take more proactive measures to research and study practices that trace back to our ancestral lineage of ways that women were able to succeed throughout history using these types of tools. And technically some of these would be considered glamour magic items. But if you would like to learn how to craft these in detail with the ingredients that I would recommend or how I would do this, again, like I said, I will post the Lucifer Powder video here on YouTube. But if you want to learn how to do the witch's hand ritual, and if you want to learn how to craft the night honey, you will need to go to my Baddie Bruja membership and become a member, where I detail all the ingredients. I show you how to bless and enchant and do all of these things behind the scenes, as these are more personal practices and not something that I would just put out here on the internet for any person to kind of stumble upon. But even if you are not going to become a Baddie Bruja member, this is a great place for you to start studying and researching how to craft these things within your own culture, or versions of these types of rituals and spells and magical ingredients in your own craft, so that you can be empowered for whatever comes next. Give me a like and a share of this video. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you in my next one. Be blessed.